Conservative Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, went on television to slam President Obama, saying that his new gun regulations are merely a distraction, a way to divert attention from the real issue at hand, which is his failure to properly deal with the Islamic State. Now, like many on the right, Ryan is quick to attack Obama regarding his foreign policy, but any realistic, sensible alternative solution is yet to be put forth. Unless, of course, you count ripping up a historic nuclear deal between the U.S. and the Iranians, or, of course, banning all Muslims from entering the country. For this reason, Sasha, I'd like to dismiss the ISIS comment for just a minute and maybe focus on some other things. I feel like conservatives are really up in arms over this because of issues that go much, much deeper than mere distractions about his failed attempts at fighting the Islamic State. I think there's, this kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't thing that they're putting on Obama, and no matter what he does, he's gonna get slammed for things like this. I mean, bringing in foreign policy and ISIS, I mean, that's just absurd. It has nothing to do with this.
I mean, and the fact of the matter is, it is a real issue. Gun control is a real issue. In 2016, that's 7 days, 208 people have been killed in gun-related violence. So gun control is a major issue, and I think, Obama said it during his speech. He's not running for re-election. He has no campaigns left to run. So this isn't a political play for him. This is just something that he's doing as the President of the United States to protect the American people.
Right, and clumping up guns and clumping up your failed foreign policies, all into one thing, I think is a political move on the right? Because they really want to win this election in 2016. Now, I want to go back to what I was mentioning earlier about the damned if you do, damned if you don't point, for this reason. So we all watched President Obama, in his speech, talking about these new laws that he's going to put in place. He was in a room full of, victims, the families of victims of gun violence. He was very emotional. The man was crying. Yet the NRA and Mr. Paul Ryan collectively have said terrible things, saying things like Obama was condescending in that speech, that he was hostile. I mean, the man's over there crying, trying to get his point across, and he comes off as condescending and hostile in that speech. They said it's a form of intimidation that undermines liberty. So the reason I want to say he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't is because of this reason. They're getting on his case, saying that they're taking away rights and he's completely going against and undermining our Constitution. Meanwhile, you have the NRA coming out and saying the complete opposite, yet still slamming Obama. Here's what the spokeswoman, Jennifer Baker, had to say. This is it? Really? This is what they've been hyping for how long now? This is the proposal they've spent 7 years putting together. They're not really doing anything. Okay, so the NRA is saying, that's it? You're not doing anything at all. Good luck stopping gun violence with this. And then conservatives like Paul Ryan, for example, are saying, this is taking away our rights, you're undermining the Constitution. So he's getting slammed on both angles for two different reasons about the same issue. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Very true. And what is the message that the GOP is trying to spin here? If they want to lump these issues together with terrorism and gun control, more U.S. citizens have been killed due to gun violence than there have been due to terrorist attacks. That's a fact. The numbers vary. Some studies say that it's 24 to 71 that have been killed with terrorist attacks. Other studies say that 200,000 to upwards of 300,000 Americans have been killed due to gun violence. Those are huge numbers. Those are real things, and I think the GOP's idea, we all know that the GOP is very quick to rally around saving their guns. And nobody wants to take their guns from them. But we're talking about smarter ways and making sure that the guns are in the hands of people who can handle them responsibly, firmer background checks, making sure that people that have mental health issues are getting the treatment that they need so we don't have people running in to commit mass shootings. Those are the things that we're not talking about when Paul Ryan is making these comments, trying to polarize his base and get them out to the polls for the election next year. And it's a slippery slope, and it's actually setting a very dangerous precedent because we're not talking about this issue in terms of facts. We're talking about it in terms of political bullet points.
Right, and they really don't seem to care about those things. So, one interesting thing, too, that Obama mentioned in that speech was he kind of asked the crowd rhetorically, he said, how did we get to this point where asking for background checks means taking your guns away and your liberty? Those things have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. Exactly. And that's, and seeing Paul Ryan go on television and being that angry and so about it just shows that they just don't like Obama. Or any Democrat. It matters more who's saying it, right? Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get their point across. So look, it's a little frustrating, to see these kinds of things, especially considering this man is, Speaker of the House. But at the same time, not all that surprising, Sasha. So This is how I see it. People are dying. You know, there should not be any more excuses why tougher gun laws should not be in place.